Hello everyone. So today we will be discussing about chemical reactions and equations, which is a part of class 10 science first chapter. So herein we will be exploring the fundamentals of chemical reaction, the properties which is there in various chemical reactions, how to represent a chemical reaction, how to balance a chemical reaction. All those things will be taken up one by one. So, first and foremost, when we go ahead in this, so the chemical reaction, what we say, what is a chemical reaction? A chemical reaction is somewhere where the substance, the components of the substance which is there, they go ahead and there is some kind of changes, there is breaking of bond, there is formation of bond, there might be the structural changes that might take place. All these are chemical equations, okay, chemical reactions that takes place. So when I say that chemical reaction has occurred in our day to day life. So in our day to day life, I have things like photosynthesis that takes place. We have studied about this. We have digestion that takes place. So in a day to day life, burning again is again a chemical reaction. Carbon plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide. It's a chemical reaction that takes place. Okay, burning of magnesium and all those, burning of paper, all those things are chemical reactions. So chemical reactions are something that takes place in our day to day life. And what is involved in chemical reaction? Either there is a breaking or forming of bonds. So herein I saw carbon and oxygen, there has been a bond which got formed between carbon and oxygen, right? So there is formation of bonds that occurs, or there is a breaking of bonds that occurs. So all these things goes ahead and relates with the chemical reaction. All right. So next after this what we have is, okay, next if we come ahead, we once we talk about the chemical reactions that we have, we, okay, okay. So herein we have what is a chemical reaction. Chemical reaction basically means it is a process where substances, when I say substances, I had already told you, I had taken this into consideration earlier, wherein I took carbon plus oxygen to give carbon dioxide, right? So I took carbon plus oxygen, very simple equation. I am saying this. So, where the substances, so what is reactant here? Those which are reacting, they are known as reactants. And what is being formed, this is known as a product. So, there are reactants and products which are formed with various properties. That is there. Like various properties in the sense, carbon here is solid in nature, oxygen here is gaseous in nature, and carbon dioxide is gaseous in nature. Okay, so here I said burning of magnesium ribbon. So if I have to put this equation, burning means of magnesium ribbon. So Mg, burning will take place always in presence of oxygen. So burning in, you know, of magnesium ribbon forms magnesium oxide, producing bright light with white ash. So this is another chemical reaction that has taken place. Chemical changes involve bond breaking, formations, atom rearrangement, but what will happen is it will never get destroyed. So, what we have here is something called as conservation of mass. If we talk about, we have conservation of mass. What is conservation of mass? Conservation of mass says that the amount of the reactant, the amount of a substance in the reactant will be same as that in the product. So we have conservation of mass. So carbon is there oxygen is there, it forms carbon dioxide, is fine. But carbon will be there in both reactant and the product side. Oxygen will be there both in the reactant and the product sides. If 2 moles of oxygen is there, then I will have 2 moles of oxygen as well in the product side. For that, it is very important for us to maintain the conservation of mass to balance the equation. Okay, so next we have is, so now we want to see, and we have to identify chemical reactions. So chemical reactions often reveal themselves through visible and measurable changes. So they can be recognizing, there are various signs and symbols that we have the chemical reactions taking place, and we can always visualize and tell whether the chemical reaction has taken place or not. So, what are the signs that we have that chemical reaction has taken place? There can be change in the color. So, rusting of iron. What happens? The iron, it becomes bit reddish brown in color. So, there is change in the color. Evolution of gas. Say, I was telling before some time which carbon plus oxygen forms carbon dioxide. So, carbon dioxide is a gas which is getting evolved. There might be some cases where hydrogen gas is being evolved when zinc reacts with an acid. Hydrogen gas will get evolved. Okay, how do you identify hydrogen? It will burn with a pop sound. If you just put a matchstick, burning matchstick, it will just burn with a pop sound. So that is evolution of gas. You can find out that there is hydrogen being released. Change in temperature. Sometimes you will find whenever you dissolve something, there's a change in temperature that has occurred. There may be energy release or energy absorbed. Things might become a bit cold or things might become a bit warm. So that is change in temperature, and hence we can say chemical reaction has taken place. There might be formation of a precipitate. So some deposition might have taken place wherein I say chemical reaction has taken place. Now, how do I represent a chemical reaction? To represent a chemical reaction, there is a chemical equation, and that is when we say how the reactants are forming the product. So, I was talking to you about this particular reaction where magnesium is there, oxygen is there, and which is forming magnesium oxide. So magnesium and oxygen, which is here at the place of, before the arrow, these are known as reactant. So here the magnesium is a reactant. Okay, here the oxygen is a reactant. And here magnesium oxide is the product. So you see, if I have to see this equation, 2 magnesium is here and 2 magnesium is here. Oxygen is also 2 here, oxygen is 2 here. So this gives the conservation of mass. So the amount of magnesium in the reactant side and the product side would be the same. There might be structural changes, there might be breaking or formation of bonds that is involved, but the amount of magnesium which has reacted will be the same that would be there in the product. There will be no disappearing of few moles of magnesium that would take place, or it is not that oxygen has just gone off somewhere. Okay, so that would not happen. Reactants appear on the left hand and products in the right hand side. So this is what I said, and I always told you that this will obey the conservation of mass. Okay, this will obey the conservation of mass. And now, whenever I write an equation for it to maintain the conservation of mass, it is very important that I balance the equation. So how does balancing the equation takes place? So I have an equation here. It gives me hydrogen plus oxygen gives me water. So when I say hydrogen plus oxygen gives me water here, so here hydrogen is 2 in number, oxygen is 2 in number. But here, what is hydrogen? Hydrogen is 2 in number, whereas oxygen is 1 in number. So here what is happening? 2 moles of oxygen is there. I have 2 atoms of oxygen or 2 particles of oxygen which is coming in. But as a product, I am getting only one particle of oxygen. So Herein what is happening, there is somewhere one oxygen is getting disappear somewhere, but that is not possible when I'm saying about the conservation of mass. So it is very important that I balance it. So when I write hydrogen plus oxygen gives water, so what do I do? Hydrogen is 2 here, hydrogen is 2 here. What happened? Oxygen is 2 here, but oxygen is 1 here. So if I have to go ahead, this water completely, it is a molecule, this water will act together. So now to increase the number of oxygen, what will I do? I will multiply this with 2. So what happens for hydrogen here? This will become 4, this will become 2. So hydrogen has become 4 now. So there will be 2. 2H2O. H2 plus O2 gives 2H2O. So this is known as a balanced equation. Alright. So this is how I go ahead balancing an equation. Now, once this is done, so this is what is in the chapter in a very, very small, it's a very nutshell. So now to just brief you up, what is happening here is chemical reactions transforms reactant into new products. We have seen that there are various changes that occurs. There is a change in color, gas evolution, temperature change, precipitate formation, all those things happens. Chemical reactions visually represent reactions must be balanced to follow the conservation of mass, the law of conservation of mass. And mastering balancing equips you to understand and predict the chemical changes. So what kind of change has taken place? That is what it is very important for us to know. Okay, so that is how the chemical reaction would take place. Okay, so that's it in gist, and we will go ahead in later what are the different types of reactions we have. Okay, we'll go ahead, and before that, before going into the different types of reaction, we will for sure go ahead and balance few equations and solve questions on balancing equation, so that we are well versed with this matter. Okay, see you in the next video. Thank you.